Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome into your SPL class. I hope you all have a wonderful day. So, today we are starting our first volume one. I have divided the whole SPL syllabus into two volumes. Volume one will be covering these four sections of the syllabus. Section C, strategy. Section A, leadership and change. Section B, governance. And Section D, risk management. And in the volume B, the remaining four sections will be covered. So we are starting our first discussions of the SPL with Section C, strategy. Okay. So before I begin with all this, our amazing discussions, first few things that you need to note down about the SPL paper and the SPL overall course. First of all, you need to know that SPL is a very practical paper. This is, although there's a lot of theory, lot of frameworks, lot of discussions you will be having, but keep in mind that this is applied paper, application of theory. This is not just the replication or the repetition of theory. So, for example, if there is a question, let's say the question asks you to, uh, first, oh yeah, in SPL paper, you will not be asked, or the questions will not specify any particular model to use. Yes, SPL paper questions would not ask whether to use the Porter Diamond model or Porter Five Forces model or whatever. The questions will not specify. This will be your knowledge. This will be your own understanding. This will be your own assessment. This will be your own analysis. This will be your own judgment to find out which particular framework makes sense for answering this question. Okay, so these are the few things that you noted down. First of all, that SPL is practical paper. It is not the replication or the repetition of theory. So those students who repeat the models, for example, they start defining the model, explaining the model, that would not help at all. SPL, you are advising, you are playing different roles. For example, sometimes you are playing the role of the project manager. Sometimes you are executive director. Sometimes you are CFO, CIO, CTO, CDO, CMO. So roles change, and SPL questions demand practical answers, not just the repetition of theory. So this is the mindset that you need to start, that you need to have from the very beginning. SPL is not difficult. The results speak itself. Okay. Yes, it is technical paper. It is lengthy paper. SPL syllabus is bulky. You will be going through so many different chapters, so many different models, so many different topics. Okay, but you need to learn it from a knowledge point of view, that yes, you need to know these different frameworks. But in exam, which model is suitable, it depends upon how you apply that knowledge. Then SPL is an integrated paper. What that mean? For example, you will be covering so many different topics. For example, you will be studying about governance, you will be studying about leadership, you will be studying about strategy, you will be studying about technology, you will be studying about project management, process management, team management, you will be studying about data analytics, you will be studying about e-commerce, risk management, internal control systems, you will be studying about finance. Okay, so all these topics, keep in mind, you have to study in an integrated way. And if we look at the business scenario, it makes sense. For example, if a business is going to launch a new project, let's say that project is for sustainable energy or that project is a new technology software project. So all these topics may have the application. For example, you need data, you need uh, like project evaluation, you need to have NPV analysis of that new project. You need to have you need to find out how this new project will align with your strategy. For example, your strategy might be cost leadership, your strategy might be differentiation, you might have a niche strategy. So the point is that every topic of the SPL is connected with other topic. So this is another thing that you need to note down. Okay, so let me make it simple for you. The first day, that few things that you need to know. First of all, that SPL is a practical paper. This is not a theoretical paper. You have to apply your knowledge, and this only comes with practice. Okay, with going through examiner reports can help you find out. I would strongly recommend that you need to go through examiner reports. Okay, from day by day you start reading examiner reports. So this will help you to find out why students fail in the SBL paper, what mistakes they make, and what mistakes you need to avoid as from the very early. Okay, so you need to note down these things all, and you can also discuss with me, by the way. Also, I would suggest you must have a very clear plan of action for your preparation, because what I have noticed over the years that students in the beginning they might be very passionate about it, but as the time goes on they may start uh, skipping classes. They might think that okay, it's no problem, I can watch recordings, or I can if I skip one or two class, no problem. But this is a problem. Once you will lose the track, you will also start losing the interest as well, and this would result in that you may think, okay, I can postpone the exam from June to September or December, and this would make it difficult to pass SPL. Okay, so I would strongly recommend from day one, you should have a very clear plan that you are going to write your exam in June, and you have to plan, you have to prepare accordingly. Okay, so these are the few things that you need to note down from this very first day. All right, is there anything you would like to ask? Anything, any question do you have? No question? No problem. So we are starting with what is strategy? What strategy is? Strategy is a very interesting topic. You can define strategy in a simplest way, and you can define strategy in more detailed form. We will look at the both definitions. First of all, if we look at the strategy from a simple point of view, strategy is a course of action. What? Strategy is a course of action selected by the organization to pursue certain objectives. Okay, so strategy can be, for example, if a business is planning for offering a new product, strategy can be, for example, a business is planning to open a new outlet, open a new factory, going into new markets, going into new destinations, new countries, new cities, new regions. So all this is part of the strategy of the organization. So very simple definition of strategy is that strategy is a course of action selected by an organization to pursue certain goals. That is the simple strategy definition. But if we look at more comprehensive definition of strategy, Here is more comprehensive definition of strategy by Johnson, Scholes, and Whittington. They are also called JSW. According to JSW, strategy is a very interesting, very comprehensive definition. Strategy is direction of the organization, okay, direction and scope of an organization over long term, which achieve advantage for the organization through its configuration of resources within a challenging environment to meet the needs of the markets and to fulfill its stakeholders expectations. So if you look at this very broad and very comprehensive definition of the strategy, you will learn a lot of things from this. Let me explain it. First of all, strategy is direction of the organization. So what is direction of an organization? Let me make it simple for you. Coca-Cola, for example, is global beverage brand. But as the sale for carbonated drinks, because this brand is famous for carbonated drink, okay, carbonated drink, okay, and it has its history. But as the market is shifting, because the young generation, the youth is less interested in the carbonated drinks, so markets are shifting. Markets and demographics are shifting. So now the big question for Coca-Cola management and the Coca-Cola leadership is that how to how to change direction of the organization. Okay, and this is the big question in front of the leadership, that how to respond to these bigger changes. So how are they responding to these bigger changes? They have taken so many different actions. For example, Coca-Cola has entered into the juices market. So as a part of that, Coca-Cola has acquired several juice brands. You might have, in even Mauritius, there are many different brands that belong to Coca-Cola. You might have seen like Minute Maid, for example. You might have seen Minute Maid is a juice brand. Similarly, there are many other different brands which are available in North American market, in European market, in Australian market, where Coca-Cola has acquired. So Coca-Cola basically had made a lot of acquisitions, because it is difficult to start uh, like a fresh brand. It takes a lot of investment and all that, lot of effort. But if there is already established juice brands, so Coca-Cola has acquired those established juice brands. Coca-Cola has also invested or acquired tea brands as well. For example, there in some markets there is a uh, rising demand for tea. For example, in Mauritius, you might have seen Fuse Tea. Have you seen this brand, Fuse Tea? Have you seen this brand in Mauritius, Fuse Tea? Just like as you can
Yes.
compare it,
Yes.
Lipton. Just like as Lipton is also like brand as well, and Lipton belongs to Unilever. Okay, similarly, Coca-Cola also invested. Thank you very much. Coca-Cola also invested in coffee market as well. You would be amazed that Coca-Cola has acquired the Costa Coffee. Costa Coffee is one of the largest coffee brand in Europe and Middle East, and in some East Asian countries as well. But it's not in North America. There was a bigger purpose behind acquisition of Costa by Coca-Cola. They wanted to bring it to the North American market to compete with Starbucks, but still not. They have brought this brand into North America. Although one of the objective behind acquisition of the Coca-Cola was to acquire, not only to diversify, Okay, I am using word diversify. You can connect this one point here, that when the markets are shifting, when trends are shifting, when the circumstances are shifting, when environmental factors are changing, then you need to change your business model as well. Okay, you, if you are taking notes, you can take this note as well, that when markets are shifting, when trends are shifting, when environmental factors are shifting, then this is very, very, very crucial for any organization to shift their business model as well, to change their business model as well, to reinvent their business model as well, to transform their business model as well. The reason, there is a very reason, because risks are now increasing, and there is another bigger reason is that your base of competitiveness might have changed. You need to note it down. This is a very big statement I have spoken. Okay, one of the reasons that might be that your strength, or you can say the basis of competitive advantage might have changed. And yes, we have seen this in so many industries and in so many markets. So many industries and in so many markets, we have witnessed this phenomena. I would say in every market and every industry, this shift has already happened or it is happening. So, those companies that are constantly disrupting their business model, now I am adding this point, that those businesses, those businesses that continuously disrupting, disrupting their business models are able to retain comparative advantage. And by the way, this word competitive advantage has dramatically changed as well. For example, if you look at the largest companies in the world, list of the top 100 companies in the world, you will see that many of those companies were not in the list 10 years back, but they are now part of that list. And many companies that were 10 years before, they were not in 2005. So if you look at 2000 and 2010, and then 2020, and then like we are in 2024, so many companies have gone out of the list. The reason, because those companies have not been able to maintain their business model. So this apply to every industry, whether you talk about auto industry, for example, how the conventional automakers are struggling now. For example, Nissan, you know about, or Mitsubishi, or you talk about Ford, Chrysler, GM, General Motors, or you talk about the French auto brands, Renault, or European other brands, they are in struggling. Like Volkswagen is the recent case of Volkswagen, that how Volkswagen is struggling. So the point is that, yes, exactly, Vashish, that Jaguar gone bankrupt. And then their acquisition happened. Jaguar was acquired by Tata Motors, and then Jaguar got a new life. Even now, when the world is shifting towards EV, electric vehicles, so lots and lots of shifts are happening. You think of how supply chains are changing. for example, thousands of suppliers who supply to Volkswagen or who supply to BMW or to Ford or other brands, they are in a difficult position. So the point, let's go back to our original topic, that direction of the organization is very important. You need to constantly disrupt your business model. You need to constantly, otherwise what would happen, there would be a lot of problems might start happening for the organization. And we can discuss this topic, the change in direction and change in scope of the business. Direction and scope. Let me now discuss this next point. Direction and scope of the business. What is scope? Like a fast food brand that sells burgers and fries, for example, or pizza, for example, that sells. So the scope of that brand is that famous for this. But and that offers only lunch and dinners, for example. But now the brand is entered into, because the fast food brand has noticed that more and more people are demanding for healthy breakfast and more people are demanding for coffee. So then that brand has also changed their scope, changed their product offerings, and they entered into like coffee and the breakfast as well. And I'm talking about McDonald's. So another example, that global, I'm giving you global examples so you can better understand, and then you can apply these to the local companies as well in Mauritius, that how they are developing and they are changing their direction and scope. For yeah, yes, I got one example from Mauritius as well, like Lux Resorts. Have you been to like Lux Cafe? I'm sure you have been to Lux Cafes. How are they performing? Lux Cafes at different Bagatelle or Triano or at Godin. How are they performing? Are they doing well? They are also offering different pastries, cakes, and different snacks as well, right? So, what is this, you would say? This is also another example of how a business would change its scope, because Lux Resorts have already got expertise in making world class coffee. So they already have all that expertise, they already have that skill, they already have that knowledge, they already have all those capabilities, they already have the resources. So they thought, okay, let's enter into the coffee business in Mauritius, and they open like different Lux cafes at different locations. So, what do you think? Is this strategy successful or not? Is this strategy working or not? I'm asking you this question. Let's have a quick little discussion. Is this strategy of Lux Resorts, developing Lux cafes, is it working? So, what do you think? What can be the reason? Okay, if we rank the coffee market in Mauritius, I think Lux Cafe might be on the top, right? And then there are other brands as well. Yes. So this is one of the point, because a lot of people already know about the Lux brand as well. So they got this advantage too, because the Lux has its own quality, okay, and the people know that Lux below has a high quality products. So all considering all these factors, they capitalize on this. Okay. So this example we can relate with the when a business would change its scope, because you need to constantly explore the new opportunities as well. This is another point Keep in mind, in a competitive landscape, in a competitive landscape, you need to constantly explore new opportunities. And this is what we see with a lot and lot of brands, whether they are in the food sector or whether they are in the logistics or whether, oh, one more example I can give you. For example, a hospital. Let's say one more example of direction and scope, I can share it with you. Like a hospital. Let's say, for example, we can give example of the famous hospital in Mauritius. What is the name of the hospital at Phoenix? No, not Phoenix. Next to the University of Mauritius. What is the name of the hospital? Yes, the hospital name is Welkin. Welkin. So, Welkin Hospital, for example, if we look at the conventional model of hospital, do you know that how hospitals are changing their business models? One is conventional model, where you just offer the different treatments, you just offer different uh, services. But on that new model of a hospital, according to, they are off because there is a need for the new services. For example, they may start offering fitness, for example. Yes, exactly. Fitness, they start offering fitness, for example, because of the obesity problem. So they start offering gym service. Let's say they start offering sports and recreational. They might set up their own department or they may set up their own function because there's a more and more demand for fitness and health consciousness, or even they may start offer their own health food as well, health food brand. Yes, it is possible that they may offer their own health food brand, for example, that might cater to the different people with, like, for example, diabetes or the people with different. So, and they can have their own pharmacy. Okay. So, all these may be, or one more, for example, they might have world class diagnostic like their labs. So if we look at all, this explains the increase in expand in the scope and direction of the organization. Yes, Omar, you are right that increasingly now uh, all these businesses are exploring AI now. AI is, yes, AI definitely, the use of technology will be part of our every lecture now and every discussion. So AI is now at the core. Tech or AI is at the core of any strategy of the organization. Increasingly, now hospitals are exploring how they can use the big data that they have about the patients, and using that data, how can they can develop new products, new services, how they can cater to the patients better, how they can offer better services. So this all is like things are emerging. Okay, to the point here, I hope you have understood with these broad examples that how companies are exploring the scope and direction of their business models. So let me quickly repeat this whole definition, that according to JSW, the strategy is about direction and scope of an organization over long term. Yes, keep in mind that when an organization is changing its direction and scope, it is not for 1 month or not for 1 year. It is for the long term. So long term mean you can say 5 years or 3 years and beyond. So these changes would have effect on long-term strategy or the long-term future of the organization. Achieve advantage, yes. As I mentioned earlier, that the competitive landscape is shifting. The sources of competitive advantage are shifting, whether that is in agriculture, whether that is in housing, whether that is in the property industry, whether that is in the asset management, whether that is in energy, whatever industry you talk about, the competitive landscape is shifting. So every organization is in search for taking competitive advantage. Competitive advantage. That's why you would be amazed that the conventional competitors now are aligning with each other. There are new type of alliances are developing. Why these are developing? Because there are those competitors who have been traditionally competitor to each other. They may not be competing with each other. They might be feeling the threat from outsiders. The reason, technology developments are shifting the landscape of competitive advantage as well. Okay, so configuration of resources. What are the resources? Your new resources. Your data is the new resource. Okay, your talent, your skills, your human capital. So these are the new resources. So how you capitalize on these resources to develop new strategies within a challenging environment. What is a challenging environment in which the environmental factors are changing very fast? What that mean? That mean I would use word pastel factors, like the political landscape, the economic landscape, the social landscape, the technological landscape, the ecological landscape, the legal landscape, where things are changing very fast. And this is true. We are in 2025 now, and we know that how the world overall dynamics are shifting. The political landscape, for example, you may be aware of how the trade wars between China, between US, Europe, and the other countries are happening. The economic landscape is shifting, stagnation, inflation, recession, and then social things are emerging. Okay, more and more people now want to purchase local, healthy products, more organic, technological landscape is shifting. So, in all this massive change, how companies are competing, how companies are changing their strategies, that matters a lot. Needs of the market, yes. So how they are offering new products that fulfill the needs of the market needs are what customers are looking for, what customers are purchasing now, what customers are concerned about. For example, customers are concerned about green products. Let's say they are concerned about climate now, so they want to buy the product from responsible businesses. They want to trade with those businesses which are more responsible towards environment. They are more responsible towards social. They are more responsible towards governance. So there is more demand than ever on business organization to be more responsible. Understand, whether they are their products, their packaging, their processes, their raw material, their supply chains, their manufacturing, their post uh, production and post sales. Okay, now customers are demanding companies, whether they are using recyclable materials, they are using earth friendly materials, they are using environment friendly materials that can be recycled, that can be decomposed in the soil, and that should not harm the planet. Okay, so this is our new market, and these are the demands from the stakeholders. So I hope, and stakeholders, like who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are not just your shareholders. Now we are in 2025, where these stakeholders are more broader. Today, governments are more active. Customers are more active. Social media influencers are there. Your suppliers are more active. Your finance providers are looking for your investors and all of your different stakeholders. Their expectations have changed too. So the point is that in this 2025 era, the business strategy has entered into a very interesting phase where businesses need to be more responsible, think more long term, okay, and try to disrupt their business models because conventional models might not work. So this is, I hope you have understood, very comprehensive definition and explanation of strategy. Is there any question? You are welcome. Okay, now let's talk about how are strategies formulated, how are strategies developed. So there are three broad approaches towards strategy development. These are called deliberate strategy, this is emergent strategy, and there is incremental strategy. Let's talk about these each one by one. Deliberate strategy, the name suggests, it is also called top down strategy. Deliberate strategy is a strategy where a formal strategic planning process is followed. This is also called formal strategic planning process. So under formal, when we talk about formal, it is more of top down approach. So under this strategy process, it starts first of all from mission of the organization. So what our mission say? Mission is about purpose, purpose of the organization. What is our purpose? What is our reason of existence? So if you look at the mission of McDonald's, mission of Coca-Cola, mission of like the any airline, mission of a hospital, mission of like any pharmaceutical company, okay, you will find every company has their mission. Mission is followed by objectives or long-term objectives. Normally, objectives are also available on the websites of the organizations as well. That what is more uh, important for us, what we are looking for. So these are established objectives. Once this is done, now the next point is where three types of analysis are performed. Three types of analysis. There is internal analysis. Internal analysis is about analysis of internal resources, internal capabilities, internal competencies, skills. External is about like external opportunities and threats. And then stakeholders analysis, like who are our stakeholders and what are their expectations. So these are the three different types of analysis are performed before jumping on any strategy. Once this is done, the next step is now look for different options. Okay, for example, if I give example of Coca-Cola, so Coca-Cola, we can give a very clear example that how why Coca-Cola entered into coffee market. Although in the previous history of Coca-Cola, it has never offered coffee products, but now it is in. So before entering into coffee, of course, the Coca-Cola management, the Coca-Cola executive board, or we say board of directors, they must have performed all these type of analysis, like their internal analysis, what is our mission. And by the way, Coca-Cola has changed its mission as well, because its previous mission was only focus on the carbonated drinks, but now it has broadened its mission. You can see on the website of the Coca-Cola, it has broadened its mission, and now it's a drink company, not just carbonated drink company. It is a drink company, so it has broadened its mission statement. Okay, it has done its internal stakeholders analysis. Who are stakeholders? Like investors of Coca-Cola. They want the company to be more sustainable. Okay, investors of the company want more sustainable. So how it can be sustainable or have sustainable growth, okay, need to explore new option, because when we talk about sustainable growth of any business requires exploring new opportunities. Okay, it is out of the box thinking, because within the box mean you are following your conventional business model, and out of the box thinking requires disrupt your business model. So if you look at the global companies, you might have noticed that how they are exploring the new opportunities, whether this is green products, more sustainable products, more environment friendly products, more like long-term supply chain management, like deals, new alliances, use of more technology in the production processes and all that. Okay, so under strategic planning, this strategy development process, first of all, mission, objectives, internal analysis, external analysis, stakeholder analysis. After that, you will go to options. You will find out how many options we have after considering all this. Okay, and then you will have choices. You will find out which one is best for us. Choose the best option. Which one is best for us? So this also involve portfolio analysis as well. Portfolio analysis. And this also, okay, I have now connected a topic, portfolio analysis. So when portfolio analysis is performed by companies, sometimes they might decide to discontinue their products. Okay, sometimes they might want to add new products. So adding new or discontinue existing, or they might follow blend of strategies. A lot of brands, like global companies, if we talk about Kraft, Heinz, Nestle, Unilever, or you talk about technology companies, they often spin off. You might have heard this term. Have you heard this term, spin off? Spin off. Do you know about this term? Being SBL students, you are expecting these different jargons, business terms. Spin-off is about where a business decide to privatize or sell its one of existing segment or its division. For example, like Woolworth. Woolworth is a South African brand. So it also has its like subsidiaries in Australia as well. Or I can give example of ShopRite too. ShopRite is also a South African brand, but I think ShopRite has already exited from Mauritius. Is it? ShopRite has left Mauritius already. Is it? So this is one of the example of strategies. One of the example of strategies. Similarly, we can talk about Intermart, or we can talk about Jumbo. These are also the superstore chains in Mauritius. So how they evaluate, how they decide their strategies. For example, if so, Intermart think to offer small, because normally Intermart type stores they demand bigger space. So I think it's at Bagatelle. Intermart is there. So it in this way it can uh, lose some markets in the densely populated areas. So what Intermart has done, they might be opening small stores. And what is the name of those stores? Where they can open with small space within the different populous areas. For example, Katrebone, or for example, at Cupid. So they can offer. What are these called? Intermart Express. What are these types of smaller stores are called? Hello. What are the smaller stores are called where they have opened into more congested areas where there's no lack of car parking facilities, less parking facilities. So we can call this as express stores. Understand? So all this example we can apply to the strategic choices. Understand? And then you have to plan and implement this strategy. Once you have found out that okay, we need to open a new outlet, we need to open a new shop, we need to open a new factory, we need to open a new space at this region or this area. You Once you have decided, now you plan and implement this strategy. And once you have implemented this strategy, after that you need to review your strategy. Review your strategy is about how you need to find out success of your strategy. What is success of your strategy means you need to find out whether your strategy is working or not working. And this is a part of performance appraisal of the strategy. Okay. So all this process overall is called strategic planning process, or in other words, this is called deliberate strategy. Deliberate strategy is a step by step process towards strategy development. My dear, is this clear to you? Is this clear? Step by step process is clear? Okay. So this is a strategy planning process. I hope you are clear now. Next, number two, strategy development method is called emergent strategy. What is emergent strategy? Emergent strategy does not require a detailed step-by-step process from the starting from the mission and then objectives and the internal analysis, external analysis. No need for that. You just find out an opportunity in the environment. You just find out an opportunity and space in external environment and you jump on that. A lot of examples I can share it with you about emergent strategy. For example, first example I can start with organic products. Organic products. We are seeing like the rise of organic products, whether these are food and whether these are in the beauty industry or whether these are in clothing, whether these are in even pet food as well, and all different types of health focused products. We are seeing rise of these industries, okay, organic products. So that's why we are seeing there are new online stores are opening, new e-commerce stores are opening, new shops are opening that only focus on health based products. You might have seen in Mauritius as well. And seeing this, now the big stores, everyone, every retailer, okay, now is including, is integrating these green and organic products. Okay, so this is one example because there is a shift in the landscape, there's a shift in the environment, there's a need for the more organic and healthy foods. That's why the pharmacies, the new shops and new stores are emerging that are only selling these organic products. We are seeing organic candies, organic chocolate, organic eggs, organic juices, organic milk, organic cereals, and all those type. One more example like GMO, genetically modified or non-GMO. Have you seen these signs and stamps on the food as well? So there is also a demand for non-GMO. So these are all shifts. So those companies in the different industries, they are exploring these opportunities and they are finding out they don't want to miss, they don't want to lose. So don't want to lose or miss the opportunity. One more example I can share with you about emergent strategies, that how emergent strategies, now we are seeing AI. Example number two is AI integration models. So like websites, customer service centers, and a lot of other products and companies, now they are integrating their AI models because there is a wave. There is everyone is talking about. So increasingly, companies are also exploring that how they can use AI models into their products. Number three, e-commerce. Although it is a little bit now old example, but still we know we are relying on e-commerce because increasingly online businesses. Number four example, I can share it with you about the easy mobile pay. Mobile pay. So increasingly companies are following this. For example, in Mauritius, we can give example of the MCB Juice. So Juice app. Have you seen the small retailers, small shops and the different streets? You might have seen they have like advertisement for, or they might have a sign of the Juice app that yes, we accept the Juice app or mobile pay or all that. So this is one more example I thought to share it with you, that these are the latest examples and these are emerging strategies. So companies are increasingly integrating these all the new fashion, new styles, new trends into their products and services. Products and services. Yes, we are seeing shifts, we are seeing trends in both products and services. Okay, so this was the story of emergent strategy. I hope you are finding it interesting. Number three is incremental strategy. This is quite dangerous strategy. Incremental strategy, unlike emergent strategy, where a business would find a yeah. Okay, let me more give you example for emergent strategy. That for emergent strategy, you need a innovative culture. This is very important. Innovative culture. This is prerequisite for success of emergent strategy. An innovative culture comes where the top management has given autonomy and authority to the local teams, yeah, and other great idea. How you give autonomy to local teams. Local teams autonomy. This happens, for example, your Mauritian company is also having operations in Tanzania, in Botswana, in Kenya, in Mozambique, in South Africa. Now, these markets have their own local challenges. Okay, so a model that is very successful in London or in Paris or in New York, that might not be successful in Nairobi, in Dar es Salaam, in Uganda, okay, in Cape Town, in Johannesburg. These models might not be suitable. So, what is the need of the time is to give the local teams autonomy, okay, to offer local solutions. And here I have so many examples for you. Local solutions. For example, Netflix. Do you know Netflix has free service in Africa? Do you know about it? Netflix has free its web streaming services in many African markets. But if you go to Europe or other developed markets, Netflix might cost you $20 or $16. What is the reason? Because the local customers in African markets, they cannot pay that high much value of $20 per month. And similarly, a lot of Africans don't have the bank accounts. So how are they going to pay all this? This is where you need to offer local solutions. Have you got it? Are you clear? Local solutions for as emergent strategy. Basically, these days, I am working on this, my new uh, set of examples where I am collecting more data on local businesses so I can offer local examples to my students. And by the way, what do you think? This is let's little talk a little bit interesting discussion. Which type of examples are more effective? If I give examples from Mauritius or if I give you example from the multinational companies from developed countries, Europe, Australia, America, Canada, which one is more effective? Let's talk about this. And I would ask this question to Sudha. Hi, Sudha. Sudha, what do you think? Which examples are more effective to link with the SBL topics? Local or international?
Mm, International.
Okay. You mean international examples are better?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And I would ask Kritika. Hi, Kritika. What do you think? Which examples make more effectiveness, make more sense? Should it be local or international? Can you hear me? Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Did you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. So, what do you think? Which examples make better understanding, local or international?
Yes, so I was thinking about it can be international or local. You just need to understand the concept so that you're able to better apply it in different case studies, scenarios. Since, as previously you have said that it is a applied theory, apart the concept that you've learned. So you just need to understand better.
Exactly. Very good. Perfect. Perfect. So thank you very much.
Thank
Definitely,
you.
I will be integrating both local and international. So you can have the local taste as well, that how local businesses are adapting to these strategy models. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. The third type of strategy is called incremental strategy. Incremental strategy is quite risky strategy. The reason, because under incremental strategy, a business would make small changes to its overall strategy in the long term. What is problem with this strategy? The problem is that this incremental approach might be slow enough, not able to cater to the bigger changes happening in the external environment. And you would be amazed that the latest victim of incremental strategy is no other than Volkswagen. I am not giving you example of Nokia, okay, because now Volkswagen is becoming or appears to be new Nokia. Volkswagen is too big to fail. The reason that Volkswagen is too big, that it is not able to make fast changes, rapid changes, or the need for agility, that is agile business or agility. This is difficult for Nokia. So, sorry, Volkswagen. So that's why it is losing now. Okay, not only losing its competitive advantage, but losing its production, its operations, its overall position in the market. And there are very clear reasons, because the auto industry has fast shifted towards the electrification, and the Volkswagen was not able to move as fast. So here we use a concept called strategic drift. Strategic drift concept we use in this context. That means that strategic drift is discussed. Okay, so strategic drift means where a business would lose its competitive advantage. Strategic drift is where a business would drift away from its uh, positioning to nowhere. It may lose its advantage, it may lose its competitive advantage. So let's quickly go through the whole discussion of the incremental strategy so you can have the better idea about this like interesting but risky concept. Incremental strategy is a strategy that is developed slowly over time by making small changes to existing strategy. Changes to strategy are not large or far reaching because the management of the entity cannot see the need for any substantial changes. When the entity business environment is changing fast, small changes to existing strategies are unlikely to be sufficient to ensure the survival of the entity, and incremental change might be associated with aimlessness and a lack of strategic direction. So, this would result in a strategic drift. I hope you understand the three different types of strategies that we have discussed, and I have explained all these three comprehensively. Okay, all right. So, incremental strategy, by the way, is not suitable for this 21st century because things are changing so fast. Technology is changing so fast. The environmental shifts are so fast that small incremental changes might not help the organization. Today, organization needs, today, 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 organizations need agility. Agility means fast, rapidness, rapidness in their strategies. They need to quickly adjust and change to their strategies. Okay, I hope by all this discussion would help you understand the basics of strategy and the concept and the topic of the strategy. And now we are moving to next our topic, external environmental analysis. What is external environmental analysis and why it is important? What it is and why it is important? What is it and why is it important? External environmental analysis is the analysis of external factors which are changing uh, outside the control of the organization, whether you talk about political changes, economic changes, environmental changes, social, technological, legal changes. So, do you think these all changes have effect on the strategy of the organization or not? Yes, there is effect on the strategy of the organization. There is effect when there's a change in the political landscape, when there's a change in the politics and political priorities and political their focus areas. It has an impact on existing industries, existing strategies of the organization. I can give you one example. TikTok, you might have heard that the TikTok problem or the ban, we are hearing in the news that TikTok is being banned in the US. So this is a new good example to understand that how the politics or the political landscape, change in the political landscape would affect business and business strategies, their business models as well. The same case you might have heard about Huawei, and you might have heard about many other Chinese companies and how the many Chinese companies have been banned in the US. Same case with the BYD, for example, and Chinese electric vehicles, that how these Chinese EVs are subject to tariffs in North America and in EU. What is the reason? Why these countries are putting the tariffs on Chinese electric vehicle? This is a political issue. But on the one side, there are tariffs, there are bans, there is protectionism on the rise. Protectionism on the rise. Nationalism on the rise. But on the other side, the local governments are supporting, there are subsidies, there are like grants, there are, you can say, support for local industries. And do you know, in many countries around the world, the governments are spending billions and billions of dollars on certain industries. And these industries are like chip manufacturing, chip manufacturing, or you talk about solar industry, you talk about batteries industries, batteries manufacturing, you talk about EVs, and etc., etc. So on the one side, the governments are protecting their local industries, they are putting tariffs, they are making it difficult to import certain products, but on the other side they are supporting their local industries and local companies. So this is a very interesting, we have entered, or we are seeing a very interesting shift in the global trade. Okay, very interesting shift in the global trade. Okay, so those companies, especially which are engaged in import export, they are getting affected more. And we are also seeing a lot of other shifts like boycotts of certain brands. And as a result, how these brands are responding to those boycotts, social media, and all these impacts. So this we are covering in the, so the question is whether companies should respond to these external shifts or not. Of course, they need to. They would not have the second thought or second choice not to respond to these external shifts, because their strategy is being affected, their market is being affected, their position is being affected, and their whole business model is threatened because of these shifts. So definitely they have to move, they have to respond. So here is one model that can help us in analysis of the external environment, and this model is called pastel model, pastel analysis. Okay, so what is pastel analysis? Go through the definition. Pastel analysis is a structured approach to analyze the external environment of an organization. Okay, analyze external environment of an organization. What is external environment? External environment is outside the control of the organization. Okay, the influences, like current influences and possible future influences of the environment on the entity, are grouped into categories. So there are six categories or six elements of this model of pastel model. So first of all, it is a political environment. So when there's a change in the political landscape, whether there's a change in the government, for example, in the US, we are seeing the Trump effect. You might have already seen that how since he has won the election, he has been talking about tariffs and all that. So the US elections, for example, is very good example to discuss that how the political landscape or the political environment would affect. So every company that export to US market, that is largest consumer market in the world, okay, whether these are food companies, energy companies, electronics companies, anything which are exporting to US are now feeling that threat that it could be subject to tariffs. Understand? So here is the point. Shifts in political environment could have direct impact on business performance. Of course, government pass legislation which impact relationships between firms and its customers, suppliers, and other companies. Okay. The organization must react to the changing political landscape, such as government policy changes and priorities for certain sectors, such as e mobility, sustainable development, renewable energy, clean technology, and all that. So, if there's a shift in the government policy, organizations must have to respond to that. Whether there's extra taxes, whether there are additional subsidies, or any other policy change in the government, it would affect the organization, whether they're importing or exporting. So, it would become either threat or it can become opportunity. If the business is ready, already prepared, okay, it would take advantage of that opportunity. Or if the business is not prepared, it might become a threat. So the point is that keep scanning the environment. Scanning. This is very important for business organizations to keep monitoring the political landscape. So, what government is saying? What are the government priorities? For example, as the new U.S. government, the new U.S. government is coming from this Monday. So now the companies and businesses all around the world, they are looking at how they would implement the tariffs and all that. So this is a very interesting to watch. Okay, so SBL questions, as I mentioned earlier, that SBL questions would not specify which model to use for a part of external analysis. The question might simple ask you analyze macro environment or external environment of the organization. Question might simply ask you, it is up to you to identify which model is more suitable. Okay, so this is about political landscape. I hope you are understood. Number two is called an economic environment. As we know, economic environment also affect strategy of the organization. Very simple. Think of when there is inflation, what happens? Prices goes up and products become expensive. When there's a recession, what happens? When there is like kind of lack of growth in the economy, okay, when interest rates and the other inflation rate is rising, when unemployment levels are rising, when government taxes are changing, all these might have effect on the business organization in terms of extra cost, in terms of extra expenses, in terms of more expensive products and services, so leading to lower demand for the products of the business. Okay, so this affects strategy of the organization. SBL question, by the way, if we look at the past papers, whenever this model has been tested, the style of the question was to analyze how the changes in macro environment would affect strategy of the organization, would affect strategy of the organization, would affect strategy of the organization, and how the business should respond. This is pure application. Okay, this is pure application. The question asks you how the business should respond. So this is your knowledge will work, your understanding will work. Okay, hope you understand this. Next is social, cultural, and demographic environment. How the changes in demographic, for example, the you can talk about income level, you can talk about lifestyles, you can talk about attitudes, beliefs of people when there's a change, how this shift would impact strategy of the organization. For example, more and more people are becoming health conscious. More and more people are now becoming conscious about fitness. So they are cutting their uh, sugar, they are cutting their carbs, they are cutting their like fast food intake and all that. So this has a direct effect on the like sugar related industries and the fast food industry. Okay, so how they are responding to all these shifts? They have started offering more healthy meals and healthy products. If you look at the menu now of fast food chains, you might find they are offering now health focus, green, vegan, for example. This is now emerging concept, vegan. So you might have seen that vegan restaurants, or again, I would give example of organic products. So increasingly now, the food companies, beauty companies, cosmetics companies, they are including such products now. Okay, because this is the need of the time. So these are there, and by the way, there are so many different type of social, cultural, and demographic factors. Okay, and these would have effect. For example, the religion, for example, the impact of religion and the religious attitudes and thoughts in society, this also affect the business strategy as well. Okay, so any company which is operating in the Middle East, for example, or Pakistan or India, for example, so they need to take all these matters into their strategy. Similarly, if they are operating in China, for example, so they need to consider the local concerns, the local society norms. This is very important to consider the local norms, local customs, local culture. If they don't consider this, there would be big trouble for the businesses. And we have seen in the past that those companies that don't understand or that make mistakes in their marketing or in their products, their processes, okay, or their supply chain, where they don't consider these local, what would happen? Would result in a lot of troubles in terms of boycotts, in terms of even sometimes the government might take action against these companies if they have uh, violated the local customs, local culture, local norms. So this is another very important thing to consider. Okay, next one is technological influences. Technology. Whether you talk about technology in production, whether you talk about technology in processes, operations, supply chain, services, you talk about technology softwares, you talk about technology in e-commerce, technology is everywhere. So how technology is impacting the strategy of the organization? I have put a quick list. Technological change can affect activities of the organization, the type of the products or services that are made and sold, what type of products, and how technology can be used in those products, way in which products are made, for example, production techniques such as use of robotics, for example, robotics, okay, or use of more automated processes, use of automation. Similarly, the way in which services are provided, for example, bookings, online shopping, the way in which firms are managed, the way firms communicate internally and externally. This is about communication. For example, you can talk about Microsoft 365 or Microsoft different apps, the way in which products are sold, particularly the growth of e-commerce, the way in which firm connect, acquire, engage customers. So this technology is at the heart. Technology is at the center. That's why at SBL there is a complete section on technology. Okay. By the way, and as I told you earlier in the start of the class, that technology is part of strategy of the organization. Okay. Next, we talk about ecology. Ecology mean we can talk about the planet. We can talk about Earth. We can talk about the like impact on the climate. Okay, so as we know, the climate changing and businesses are under pressure now to have cut their footprints, cut their emissions to become more sustainable, become more responsible. Okay, and whether they are using natural factors or the natural capital, if they are using, whether they are using water, they are using energy, they are using other the nature-based supply chains and materials, they need to be more responsible, more sustainable. Okay, and this topic is now being frequently discussed at SBL about the environment. Okay, and if we look at the impact of climate change on business performance, like how climate change, for example, you might have seen in the news the LA fires. You might have watched and heard in the news that how the LA fires have destroyed and caused the havoc, devastation in so many parts of the Los Angeles, California. Understand? So many observers and analysts are connecting these fires with climate change. Okay, so now the businesses will be under pressure more because of this climate change, how the societies, the people are being affected. Okay, so effect on businesses, effect on societies, effect on people. And this is not just one. Ecological factors are affecting from Chile to Philippines to New Zealand to like all around the globe. We are seeing that these climate change uh, is affecting the businesses, whether that's the Australia, whether that's a France, whether that is Spain, Germany, or we talk about India, Pakistan, or Middle East, for example. There are droughts, there are rains, there are floods. So all these are impacting. Okay, so when there is climatic conditions are changing. So there would be extreme weather conditions. This has effect on businesses, whether these are rains or floods. When okay, there are water. When there are droughts, there could be water restrictions. And this one we have seen in the Spain. We have seen in Cape Town that when there was drought, there were water rationing. Have you heard about this term? Water rationing. You have a limited quota for the water. You cannot use more than that. So imagine if a city is heavily dependent on tourism, let's say, so how it would affect tourism dependent cities. So how to adapt in such conditions. Understand? Businesses. So that's why increasingly new business models are coming, new strategies are coming that are more sustainable. Become more sustainable. Okay, and this is also affecting supply chain as well, especially we talk about food supply chain. Imagine even in Mauritius, when there are consecutive rains for few days, what would happen? Vegetable prices, fruit prices, vegetables prices go up. Okay, and this is the phenomena all around the world when there are extreme weather conditions. Okay, so I hope you understand that ecological factors now are critical, key factors affecting strategy of the organization. So here is the how businesses respond to these shifts. Okay, and the last one is called legal environment. What is legal? The shift in the law, new law. For example, the new laws are emerging for cyber security. There are data protection laws are coming. There are like earth related carbon laws are coming. There are sustainability related laws are coming. For example, recycling, dumping, decomposition, materials, use, and all that. Water, for example, water treatment, let's say, and all that laws are coming. Okay, so the companies, this is increasing the cost, increasing cost. So on the one side, there are threats for companies, but on the other side, there are opportunities as well. So, my dear, this is very comprehensive discussion of the pastel factor, that how you need to analyze the pastel information and then you need to respond to the questions. Okay, is there any question so far? Any question? Any question? Okay, no question, no problem. We can take a 10 minutes break here. And after break, we will be moving on to our topic, strategic drift. And then we will move on to Porter Diamond model. And further, we will be covering these external environmental topics. Okay, so see you after break time with our new topic, strategic drift. Take care. See you. Welcome back. We are discussing that how external environmental forces affect strategy of the organization, and we have covered pastel model. In context of incremental strategy. Incremental strategy is where a business would make smaller, gradual changes to the strategy. For example, some small implementation of technology projects or small change in sustainability. But the problem with these small changes to existing strategy or existing operating model may not be sufficient to compete or to accommodate the bigger shifts. So, what would happen as a result? The business might drift away. Whether this is about, this can be applied to both technology and sustainability. related changes. Okay. So if a business is making small changes in sustainability, for example, like not significant, but just little improvements in terms of energy efficiency or waste efficiency or product efficiency, that these might not be sufficient. Okay, so there is a strategic drift risk. Many entities go through periods of relative continuity when their strategies are largely unchanged or change incrementally. And this was the case with last century. This was the case with last century. Because if we look at the 20th century, the things were not as dynamic as we are seeing today. In 2025, the pace of change has dramatically increased. Understand? But if you look at the last century, there was more prediction, there was more forecasting, but today it has become difficult. This is the point of discussion of strategic drift. There is a risk of strategic drift in this type of situation when there are mega shifts in the external environment of the organization. Become increasingly incompatible within that changing circumstances. So this is the point that you need to understand. And as I gave you example of Volkswagen, that the Volkswagen existing strategy of small incremental changes to engine efficiencies has not worked at all. Yeah, this is a good example of smaller changes that auto companies have been improving the efficiency of engines to make it more environment friendly. But these are still combustion engines, okay, that emit a lot of CO2. So as a result, because of the very big size of the Volkswagen, it became difficult for the Volkswagen to adjust to the bigger changes happening. So here is a big question. What would be the worst outcomes for any organization or any business? There are many situations we can discuss in this context, the worst outcomes. For example, the business may lose its markets, its customers. Number two, it may lose its positioning. Positioning. It may become subject to the government. For example, the kind of, you can say, compliance related issues. It may become, you can think in the context of the investors, for example, if their investors may take actions against, if the board is so slow, if the board is so risk averse, I can use word risk averse, or sluggish board. So in that case, the investors may intervene, they can interfere into the operations of the business. And moreover, the customers would stop purchasing, and reputation, impact on reputation, because in the media the discussion would start about the business in the media. So impact on reputation, market value, stock value, and etc., etc. So it may become subject of compliance issues, or you can say like there would be fines or penalties if the business has not responded fast. So these are all different types of risks that we can discuss in this context. I hope you understand what are the worst outcomes of the strategic drift. Okay, next section is about how external key drivers of change affect the structure of sector or market. Like, what are the external drivers of change that might affect the structure of sector? So there are two broad external structure drivers of change. One is called technology, how technology is shifting the industries and markets, whether you talk about use of cloud, use of the data and big data, and then AI models and all that. Okay. And the second, the bigger driver of the external shift is sustainability or sustainable development. All other law, compliance, regulation. Number three, you can talk about customers or social factors. They are also becoming a big force in a lot of markets. Social or human factors in many markets around the world. Okay. And then compliance, regulation. All these factors are becoming a key drivers of the change. Okay, now after all this discussion, very interesting discussion about how external factors affect strategy of the organization, now we are going to land on a new topic. And this topic is called Porter Diamond influence of national competitiveness. What is this model about? This model is about how to achieve competitive advantage in a market. Very interesting model this is. So according to this model, let me write top line for this, that how to achieve competitive advantage in global markets. In global markets, how to achieve competitive advantage. So this model was introduced by Porter. Okay. If we look at the SBL papers, SBL papers have tested this model differently. SBL questions. For example, one of the question was in one of the paper in the SBL that analyze the factors that have contributed to the success of this. Like, there was a clothing company, there was a clothing brand that was highly successful in certain markets, but average successful, not much successful in other markets. So the question was that what are the factors that have contributed to the successful growth of this business in this particular market of a business of uh, like ABC company in a particular market. So what are those factors that may contribute to the success of a business? Let's talk about this model. This model is called Porter Diamond model. As I told you earlier, SBL questions will not specify which model to use. This is your knowledge. This is your understanding that you will come up, okay, here I should use this model. Okay, so according to this diamond model, there are four factors. Four factors of success of achieving Success in a market or industry. Number one is factor conditions. Number two, demand conditions. Number three, related and support industries. And number four, firm structure, strategy, and rivalry. Let's talk about factor conditions. So here, Michael Porter has divided factors into two types. There are basic factors, and then there are advanced factors. Basic factors and advanced factors. Basic factors are those factors which are available in the local region, local area. For example, natural resources. A region might be very rich in coal, might be very fertile, might the soil might be very fertile. The region might be very rich in terms of like human capital. There would be abundance of resources like coal, wind, water, human resources, or other natural resources, oil, for example. But according to Michael Porter, these basic factors might not help in achieving competitive advantage unless there are advanced factors are developed. So what are advanced factors? Advanced factors are related to like there is infrastructure, world-class infrastructure. There is a world-class information infrastructure. There's a world-class scientific and technological infrastructure is developed. So, according to Michael Porter, these are the factors that would really contribute to the success of any particular company or industry. And we have, yes, there is very clear uh, outcomes of this theory. If we look at the world top technology companies, these all majority of these companies have originated from one place, and that's called Silicon Valley. So if you look at Silicon Valley in San Francisco, California, okay, these factors are very clear. One more example is Singapore, for example. Singapore is one of the leading IT and financial hub in the world and one of the like leading economy in the world. Although Singapore is a small city state with 5.5 million population, just 5.5, but it is one of the richest country or richest city in the world. So, what is the reason? Because of the world class information infrastructure, technology infrastructure, and administrative infrastructure, governance infrastructure, that is also highly important. Governance infrastructure. Okay, and we can see in a lot of countries and markets in the world that this phenomena has happened. Number two, demand conditions. According to Michael Porter, just factor conditions are not enough. There must be sophisticated demand for the products and services as well, okay, for that industry. So if we talk about technology services, technology. So Silicon Valley or the US has always been in ahead USA in terms of internet technology, in terms of you talk about AI, you talk about cloud. If yes, it is true. Like technology adoption is highest in US. Whether you talk about cloud, so who are the largest cloud providers? Software, you talk about AI. I am just talking about the broad technologies, but if you go and find the detailed technologies, you will find the leaders, tech leaders, all are mostly US companies. Whether you talk about Microsoft, Google, Meta, you talk about Nvidia, Amazon, Walmart, all these are the leaders in technology development. Okay, so the point is that do you have what is the condition of demand? So condition of demand depends upon sophistication of customers, how much demanding they are in terms of sophisticated products and services. Okay, number three, you need to look at whether there are related and support industries that are also very important for the success and growth of any core industry. Yes, another example I can give you, defense industry. Like when we talk about defense industry, again, the US companies are ahead. You talk about like Boeing, for example, okay, or other top defense contractors or defense companies, they are in the US. So, what is the reason? What is the reason? Because the world class research and development, there's a finance and abundance of capital is available. Okay, there is world class research and development laboratories and institutions are available. There are world class universities are available that conduct the best technology advancements and research and development. Whether you talk about, like if you look at the top scientific like universities in the world, you will find out that mostly are in the US, whether that is Harvard, MIT, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, University of California, or you talk about Penn State, University of Pennsylvania, Georgia Tech, all these universities are located there. Okay, so these are supporting the business models of the different industries. And the role of R&D and the role of universities is very, very important. And that is another reason. If you look at other industries, why US companies are dominant, whether you talk about pharma, whether you talk about big food, US companies are on the top. Whether you talk about big tech, US companies are on the top. Whether you talk about big auto, once US companies were on the top. So there is a track record, there's a history that how these related and supporting industries have been providing. For example, another very interesting one more example I can share with you, Detroit. Once Detroit was called as the auto capital of the world because all the big three auto, Ford, GM, and Chrysler, were located in the Detroit. And Detroit, like all the suppliers, components manufacturers, they were all present there to support the Ford, GM, and Chrysler assembly plants. Understand? On the other side, the University of Michigan, one of the best university for automotive engineering were also there. So the point is that in order to thrive and succeed, you need support, and this support must be there. Number four is firm structure, strategy, and rivalry. What does this mean? This means that not only the other factors are required, But one more factor is whether there is a competition within the companies or not. Because if there is a competition, that is called rivalry. If there is rivalry, then the companies will compete with each other. So the more rivalry, the more intense competition, and they will be more focused on long term strategies. High rivalry leads to long term winning, long term success. So they will develop such strategies that would help them to win in the long term. So this again, I would like look towards the US companies. Any US company, okay, if you look at, there has been competition in any industry, whether you talk about in the in banking industry, you talk about auto industry, you talk about transportation or technology companies. So higher the when competition is lowering, companies will become more complacent. Okay, so rivalry and strategy of the organization as well. And then structure. Yes, there are three factors: structure, strategy, and rivalry. Structure is about governance structures, governance. So you can talk about whether mostly companies are private companies or public companies, public versus private. It's very simple to understand. This is a listed company, and listed companies mean there are lot of investors, large number of shareholders. So the business is under, now the board is under pressure to win, to make strategies that will lead to winning in the long term. Okay, if the public, but if there's a private company, the private owners, that might be a family business, so they may not much be concerned about growth. But if there's a public company, the board will be under pressure, board under pressure to plan for growth. Like I gave you example of Coca-Cola. But if there's a company private, then the family members or the private investors may not be much under pressure to look for new ways, new options, new products, new markets. So the point is that this model is a very interesting model that can guide business and industry about how to win the competitive advantage in global markets. So, number one, there are factor conditions. Number two, there are demand conditions. Number three, there should be support industries. Number four, structure, strategy, and rivalry of the players which are operating in the industry. So these are the four factors that focus on how to win the competitive advantage. Okay, are you clear? I have put this table. You can have a look at this table quickly. And if there's any question, you are welcome to ask. Okay, is there any question? And then there is a role of government. Role of government is also very critical. The government can support, the government can play its role in all these four conditions. For example, the role of the government in factor condition is important. For example, developing factors. This is the government that can take the lead. This is the government that can develop the world-class infrastructure. Role of government towards infrastructure, towards transportation systems, for example, developing world-class airports, road transport systems, railways, shipping systems. So telecommunication networks, skills and knowledge, for example, like universities, skills institutions, and all that. So the role of the government is critical here. Okay, and then demand conditions. For certain industries, government might be the leading consumer or customer. Yes, it is. For example, in defense industries, the governments might be the key customers of those new products. Similarly, in pharma industry or in certain critical technologies, let's say, government might be the only customer. Government as customer of those technologies. Related and support industries, this is the role of the government to develop the world class research institutions, provision of finance. For example, like I have been working, I got opportunity to work on youth employment projects or green projects. So, how the government role of government in finance or funding to make sure that there is a sufficient funding available, capital available to support these green initiatives. Okay, and then number four, the role of government is also there about structure, strategy, and rivalry as well. So how the new law, for example, antitrust laws are developed to encourage the competition and discourage monopolies. Discourage monopolies. Because when there are monopolies, if a company got monopoly in a particular market, they might become complacent. They may not be putting their best investments in new product and knowledge development, and ultimately they may become the victim of strategic drift. Yes, it is true that a lot of monopolies in the past, in the history, became complacent and lost. Okay, because they became strategic drift. So this is the Porter Diamond model. I hope you have understood this amazing model very clearly. Is there any question? Any question? Any question, my dear? Okay, so next we are going to now explore how to analyze the source of competition or how to analyze the intensity of competition in a particular market or industry. Analyzing, keep in mind, you need to understand very clearly what is analyzing. Keep in mind the five skills which are tested in the SPL. One of that skill is called analysis. So you need to know what analysis means. Okay, so analyzing sources of competition or analyzing the intensity of competition within an industry. Okay, SBL questions, how the SBL questions might test your knowledge. SBL question might ask you to analyze how the competition would affect strategy of the organization. Let me write it down. Okay, so I have put these notes for you so you can have idea about and how you need to know, you need to develop your answers. Okay, SBL answers should be in a structured form. Structured mean, one example of structure is pastel model. Pastel framework is a structured, okay, where we are discussing PESTL, or diamond model is a structured model where we are covering four different elements. But keep in mind that all these elements should be aligned with each other or connected with each other. This is very important that the elements of the model, the components of the model should be connected to each other. Okay, if every element or each element is has little connection with each other, this may not offer a clear picture of the answer. So make sure to have a clear picture of the answer, you need to make sure that different elements are connected with each other to have a clear picture, to have a clear picture, clear picture of solution offered. Because every question will ask some solution, will demand some solution. So your solution should be very clear, that it should not be vague. What is a vague answer? Vague answer is that is more theory and a little application, where different components are not connected with each other. That would call vague. Okay, I hope this would help. And now we can move on to Porter Five Forces. What is Five Forces model? Analysis, analyze industry competition. Michael Porter identified five factors or forces that determine the strength and nature of competition in an industry or market. Like, according to Michael Porter, there are five factors or five forces that determine the level of competition in any market. So, whether the competition is strong or whether the competition is weak is determined by these five factors. When any of the five forces are strong, competition in the market is likely to be strong and profitability will therefore be low. Okay, profitability will be low. Analyzing the five forces in a market might therefore help strategic managers to choose the market and industries for their firm to operate in. So that is a very important for many reasons that why a business need to have its competition analysis. One reason can be to know the level of competition, and the second reason to find out space in the market. That space is called strategic space. Okay, note it down. Two key reasons for competitive for competition analysis or competitors or industry analysis. Number one, know your competitors, or level of competition. And number two, identify strategic space. Strategic space can be identified where weak competitors are operating. Okay, so if there are weak competitors, you can identify their weaknesses and you can offer better products or better solutions as comparison to those weak competitors. Okay, so here is the five forces model. So these five forces are: number one is called threat of new entrants. Number two is called power of buyers. Number three is called power of suppliers. Number four is called threat of substitutes. And number five is called the competitive rivalry among existing firms. So any of these competition force can be strong or can be weak. Keep in mind, this is not necessary that all five forces are strong. This is not necessary. It is possible that either one or two or three of these forces might be strong and leading to the competition would be intensified. Okay, so the first of all, threat of new entrants. Okay, in many markets, in many industries, there would be little barriers for new entrants. Like anyone can set up their shop and start selling those products or services. Okay, we can see like e-commerce stores, for example, food stores, for example, like anyone can set up a food store and start selling different types of foods. Or like we can talk about a lot of services, let's say car wash, for example. Like if you think of service sector, service sector, like there are lots of different services where anyone can set up, like gym, for example, like a pizza shop, for example, a fast food restaurant, for example. Okay, or a plumbing shop, for example, like anyone can enter into the market. So in there, this threat of new entrants is determined by strength of barriers. Higher the barriers mean lower this threat of new entrant. Lower barriers mean anyone can enter and the threat will be higher. So let's talk about those barriers to entry, okay, that determine barriers to entry that determine the threat of new entrants. Number one is called economies of scale. If existing players are operating at economies of scale and their average cost would be at the lowest level, new player may not be in a position to compete. The reason, because existing players, because of their economies of scale, they can charge lower price because of their lower cost. But a new player, because of their significant investments in the beginning, they may not be in a position to lower their cost and offer a lower price. So that's why in many industries, is established players might have this advantage. Many markets and industries, established players, established mean already established businesses would have this advantage. Okay, but there are counter to this as well. For example, if a new business is coming and the business does not have the economies of scale, the business may have some other tactics. For example, become they develop alliances, they develop collaborations, they might go into acquisition or mergers. Okay, so there are tactics as well. Anyway, so this is called economies of scale. Number two is called capital requirements. In many industries, initial capital requirement would be high. Initial capital requirement, for example, in mining business, in oil exploration business, if you want to enter into these industries, you may need high capital cost. Similarly, construction business, if you want to enter into construction, you need to invest in different equipment, different machines, and other different types of industries. So this is capital intensive. Next, access to supply or distribution channels. Yes, in a lot of products, you may not be able to sell online, and you may need the supply chains. You may need retailers, distributors. So you have to sell through those intermediaries, and this is possibilities that those intermediaries make it difficult for you to sell because other brands might ask those intermediaries not to supply your products or not to sell your products, and we have seen a lot of cases of such monopolistic advantage, okay, in the past. Although these days, because of the fear of uh, like social media and the boycotts and all that, companies are less uh, hostile to these type of tactics. But in the past, we have seen that how established brands have been playing these tricks where they have made it difficult for the new brands to make entry into the market, making difficult for new brands to enter. Okay, next one, supplier and customer loyalty. In a lot of industries and markets and products, the suppliers and customers might be loyal to existing established brands. So this would become a strength for existing brands and would become a threat or weakness for the new players. And new players might have to compete even more in order to get the customers from established players. And do you think established players might digest it easily? They may retaliate as well. Next is called cost disadvantage or independent of scale. Yes, you can link this one with the economies of scale, this point that the new players, the new entrants might have this disadvantage. Okay, they may not have the economies of scale. Next one is expected retaliation. This would happen, for example, the existing local manufacturers, local producers, they may retaliate with different types of tricks. There are a lot of tricks they can play to retaliate. For example, they may instigate they may do some marketing gimmicks, they may play the tricks of politics as well, nationalism as well, and there are different other tricks they may follow. Next one, government regulation. Some industries are protected industries or subject to regulatory industries. So, for example, like health industry, if Everyone cannot open hospital. Everyone cannot open clinic, or similarly, other different types of protected industry. Like in some countries, dairy industry is protected. In some industries, telecoms, transport, or water industries, food industries are highly regulated and protected. So if anyone want to enter, they have to go through all those. Or even in some countries, these in certain industries the government may not allow, because only these are the public industries. Okay. And the one more is differentiation. Differentiation mean where the existing players are offering, existing businesses are offering different types of products. So this might also make it difficult for the new players, or maybe easy for the new player to offer a differentiated product and make a space in the market. So I hope you understand these are all different barriers to entry. Barriers to entry. Okay. So higher the barrier, lower threat. Lower barrier, higher threat. Is this clear? Is this clear, my dear? Respond quickly. Is this clear? Any question? Okay. Next, competitive forces called power of buyers. Power of buyers, sometimes buyers are big and suppliers are small. And we see in a lot of industries, several industries and markets. Buyers are strong, okay? Buyers are strong, stronger than suppliers. Like I can give you example of like big superstore or retailers. Let's say you can talk about in UK, Tesco, for example, you might have heard. In US and Canada, you can talk about Walmart, for example. Or you can talk about Gap, you can talk about Zara, you can talk about Adidas, you can talk about H&M. These are all big retailers, okay? And they are, and similarly, like other brands, for example, like Toyota, okay? These type of brands are massive and big brands. So their power is also big. So their suppliers are mostly located in developing countries. Understand? Suppliers are mostly located in developing countries. So if for example, a small garments manufacturer in Bangladesh, let's say a small garments manufacturer in Bangladesh is making t-shirts, and supplying t-shirts to H&M, Adidas, Zara, Gap, Walmart. But the size of this manufacturer is very, very small as comparison to these big brands. Okay, so they may use their this power to offer lower prices. Okay, they may offer lower prices to these small suppliers. So this is the one way. Let's quick look. The power of buyers. The power of buyers will be high. Where? So these are the situations where the power of buyers would be high. They are few. buyers are few and they are large players. Okay. For example, supermarkets, chains can apply a great deal of price. That is correct. Number two, the cost of switch. Yeah, one more interesting thing. These superstores might also be purchasing from the big brands as well. Like say Tesco. If Tesco is purchasing from Unilever, okay, now Unilever is bigger than Tesco. And there are many Unilever famous brands which are bought by Tesco. So, although Tesco can exploit or Tesco can use its size and advantage for smaller brands, but it cannot use its size against bigger brands. For example, Unilever, and Unilever supply dozens of brands to Tesco and Walmart. For example, the famous brands, you can talk about shampoo brands, or you can talk about other the personal hygiene brands, or laundry brands, or cleaning brands, understand, soap brands, different types. Okay, this is very interesting to know about all this. So this is the power of buyers. So number one case is that where the buyers are small, few, and suppliers are large. Number two, where cost of switching between supplier is low, mean buyers can easily switch between different suppliers. So in that case too, they have the advantage. Number three, the buyer's product is not significantly affected by the quality of supplier product. Okay, so mean buyers are not much dependent, mean the supplier's product is not core for buyer product, just like as Apple iPhone, let's say. So in iPhone there are few products are very important and critical. For example, you can think of the processor, or you can think of the software, or the system. Okay, same example goes in any product. Buyers earn low profits. If buyers are earning low profits, they can move elsewhere. Buyers have the potential for backward integration. Backward integration means where buyers have the position, or they have the resources, or they have the finance that they can acquire their suppliers. And this we have seen in a lot of industries, this has happened. And like buyers have the potential for backward integration, and buyers are well informed. One more example of backward integration, like Apple. uh, yeah, that's a very interesting example to share. Backward integration, the buyer might acquire supplier, and that supplier of technology, supplier of technologies, or like in the app stores, for example. Do you know there's a famous app name is Shazam? You know about Shazam app? Hello? Do you know Shazam app? Ever heard about it? This app is has a huge database of songs. Okay, so any song that you listen and you want to know that these songs belong to who, you just open the Shazam app, and Shazam app using its algorithms will identify that song. So then you can play this in the Apple store. So Shazam basically previously was independent app, and then acquired by acquired by Apple. And there was a very clear reason for acquisition of Shazam because it aligned with Apple strategy. It aligned with Apple strategy. What is Apple strategy like? It was aligned with Apple Music. So Apple collected a lot of data. One more example I can very interesting, like LinkedIn, for example. Do you know who own LinkedIn? LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft. Why Microsoft acquired LinkedIn? Very clear reason. Who uses Microsoft? Microsoft is not used by uh, common man. Microsoft is used by businesses. And Microsoft, the reason was that LinkedIn was aligned with Microsoft ecosystem. Why I'm using word ecosystem. This is a new strategy, ecosystem. And the same ecosystem we can apply with the Apple as well. Okay, so these are different situations where buyers are powerful. Next is called suppliers, power of suppliers. Sometimes suppliers can be powerful and customers or users or buyers can be weak. When suppliers have a control, when suppliers have the like control over certain resources or they have control on knowledge, control of resources or knowledge, and it must be unique, they can exploit this and they can uh, like manipulate, they can charge high price for this. And there are latest examples of power suppliers is like TSMC, you might have heard. TSMC is the world largest chip manufacturer company. Chips, it makes chips. Similarly, Nvidia, for example, this is a world largest now chip design. Similarly, you can talk about Microsoft, you can talk about Samsung, because these are the businesses that has the critical. And now, very interestingly, many Chinese suppliers have largest Chinese suppliers. This is a new shift in the landscape of competitive advantage. This is my area of interest of research as well. That how Chinese suppliers are becoming dominant shift in competition or competitive advantage. In critical technologies like Chinese suppliers are becoming top. For example, in drone technology, do you know who is the largest drone supplier? Do you know the name of that brand, that company? Hello? Do you know the largest drone manufacturer in the world? Largest security camera manufacturer in the world? Have you heard about DJI? Have you heard about Hisense? Have you heard about what is the name of the security camera company? So all these are the Chinese suppliers. Okay, number four, according to Michael Porter, is the threat of substitutes. Yes, the substitutes mean alternative products. Interestingly, in the last century, this threat was not much significant, but in 21st century, we have seen a big shift in alternative products and alternative business models. In any industry, you can see that there are new materials, new products, new processes are developing. So this is another very interesting shift in the strategy, that how the alternatives models and businesses and products are emerging. For example, you can talk about energy sector, let's say energy, that how the energy landscape has changed. Do you know that the energy production, energy storage, energy transmission everything has changed. The energy markets, for example, like solar. Solar has emerged as a cheap, very cheap, like source of energy. And here again, the Chinese manufacturers are leading the markets and industries all around the world. Okay. Similarly, EV batteries, for example, EV batteries. So this is as comparison to the conventional batteries, the Chinese manufacturers, they are developing new materials, new chemistry is developed now as comparison to conventional lithium ion batteries. Now there are new chemistry and new materials are being developed. Same, I can give you example in the bioproducts or uh, organic products or etc etc. Okay, so all these we are seeing a massive shift in the threat of substitutes, because so this threat is for established existing players, not for the, because new players, new startups are coming with new thoughts and new ideas. Okay, last one is called competitive rivalry. Competitive rivalry is the rivalry among existing. Okay, competitive rivalry is rivalry among existing companies, existing players which are competing in the existing market. So according to, we can quickly finish this. According to Michael Porter, competitive rivalry is likely to be high where these are the situations where competitive rivalry can be higher. There are a number of equally balanced competitors. Equally balanced competitors. What is this equally balanced competitors? You can think of airlines, like airlines, for example, Emirates Airline or Etihad or Qatar Airline or Turkish Airline. So these airlines have almost similar sizes, okay, and they compete with each other. In Europe, you can think of many like France Airline or Lufthansa or like the British Airways, and they compete with each other. Okay. Same case with the fast food industry as well, like McDonald's, Pizza Hut, KFC, all they have similar sizes, so they compete with each other. The fast food industry, KFC, like the Burger King and McDonald's, all they compete with each other. Number two, the rate of market growth is slow. When market is slow, mean there is not much more potential in the market. Market slow mean less new customers. So what that mean? You have to compete for existing customers. Okay, you have to sell your product to existing customer, and everyone else is trying to sell to existing customers. So this will intensify the competition because players are many, providers are many, customers are same. Number three, there's a lack of differentiation between competitors. If majority of the competitors are selling similar products, okay, less differentiation. So this will also make it like tough for everyone to compete because they lack differentiation. They lack differentiation. Next, the industry has a high fixed cost. Yes, there are certain markets and industries where fixed costs are very high. For example, you can talk about the uh, construction industry, where first of all the business needs high investment in the equipment and machinery. Similarly in like high-tech industries where you need to invest in massive infrastructure, massive machines and equipment and automation. So if this is the case, then it would be difficult to exit from the industry because of the high fixed cost and the high investment. So you have to compete. There are high exit barriers. Sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, that when there are high investments, high capital investments, there are high fixed cost, and it would not be easy to sell and exit from the industry because of the high capital investments. Okay, so you have to remain within and compete. Okay, all right, so this is all about our interesting discussion on Michael Porter's five forces model. So, according to this model, there are five forces that determine the level of competition in any industry. So, these five forces are threat of new entrants, power of buyers, power of suppliers, threat of substitutes, and the competitive rivalry among existing. Sometimes the government might be the sixth force as well that also affect, but in not in every market. In some markets, government might become a sixth force. Like, for example, in China, the intervention of the government intervention is high. So government might affect the structure of the market. But if you look at the EU, in many EU countries even, there the government has very strong control on certain markets. So the point is that control of government. Okay, and in US, for example, the govern where majority or almost every industry is like privatized, so the government intervention is low. Okay, so this is very interesting knowledge and understanding. By the way, I you might have noticed that I emphasize a lot, not only on your power of analysis, but also on commercial acumen as well. Commercial acumen is the one of the five skills which are tested in the SBL: analysis, evaluation, skepticism, communication, and commercial acumen. Commercial acumen mean business acumen, and business acumen you only learn with wide reading. So please also take this note as well, that as a part of the SPL preparation, only these notes might not be sufficient, because a lot of discussions would come from your reading. So you need to read the business and finance news articles. I will share it definitely with you. I have already compiled a database of useful articles that related to SPL uh, studies, but still you need to keep yourself updated with. So read quality uh, newspapers. For example, you can read Guardian or Reuters, okay, which are free resources. Okay, all right. So I think that is sufficient for today. And in the next class, we will be starting with our discussion on remaining, analyzing and mapping competitors. Or if you can go through this one, it's very simple. I already have explained, by the way, a little bit this topic about strategic space. You can go through. Anyway, we will be having a quick learning of this topic in the next class. And then we will be completing all these topics in next class. Hopefully, In next class, we will complete the whole strategy section, and that's it. Okay, so this is all from our today class. I hope you have enjoyed the today lecture, and you have understood what strategy is and how to analyze the external environment of the organization with help of different models and frameworks. Okay, that's all from our today class. I really appreciate you all. Thank you very much for being a part of today class. And please participate maximum, ask questions, respond to, and what more thing I would recommend before every class, have a set of questions for me, okay, that we can discuss in the classes. Okay, so that's all. Thanks a lot. I look forward to see you next Saturday, and have a very wonderful evening, some areas wonderful night, and see you. Thank you. Bye.